ready to go on a treasure hunt? That's right. I said a treasure hunt. Get your piece of paper, your pen ready because we are going to do some brainstorming today. Francine is not here with me today. She's off traveling. And so I thought today we would get started and work on something together because I know how hard it can be to get started. And maybe you've been sitting there thinking about starting a particular writing project and you just can't quite get yourself to sit down and do it. So, what if we stand up and do it? So, I was thinking treasure hunts, scavenger hunts, they're a lot of fun, especially when you're not quite sure what you're looking for, where you're going to find it. And so I feel like sometimes when you sit down with a blank piece of paper, it can feel a lot like, I don't know what words I want to put down here. I don't know where I want to go with this. I don't know where to start. So today, we're going to work on that with the treasure hunt. And I do have my co-host, my furry co-host with me today. This is Stormy. Stormy, look at the people. The people over here, Stormy. All right, she's new at this. You're going to have to forgive her. And this is right in the middle of her nap. So, remember when we were kids and they had something called show and tell? I don't know, maybe they don't do this anymore. But they did it when I was in grade school. And just in case you're unfamiliar with show and tell, the idea was you would bring something from home, and then during a period during school, you would get to bring your item out, and then everyone would get a chance to tell a story about that item. And it got me thinking about the treasure of stories held in your memories within your home. What I mean by that is if you're home right now, it doesn't even necessarily need to be at home because even if you're at work, this still works. Look around at all the objects that are around you. Doesn't each object have a story? I mean, there's a story about where you got it. Like, you see that push right there? That's like, I don't know, fast food restaurant garbage can that I found at the Restore. And this thing actually got turned into a gardening cupboard. It's very handy for hiding most of clutter. There's a little bit on the top there. Doesn't always make it into this. But we turned it into a cabinet, and it's a fun thing that I have on my porch. Sometimes that turns into a conversation piece when I have new people over. So, my first challenge for you today, you can do it right now while I'm talking if you want to. Look around and grab an object. And since I'm presenting in front of you today, I couldn't really go run around during this time to go pick an object, so I worked ahead and I did this earlier. It's a box. Kind of looks like nothing too fancy about this box. But this box is very special to me. So hopefully you've grabbed an item. I don't want you to overthink this. This is the queen of overthinking right here. What I'm telling you right now is do not overthink this. This was like the fourth thing that I saw in my room, and I grabbed it. 15 seconds, maybe. And I knew that this box right here had a lot of magic inspiration. Because, first of all, this box reminds me of my childhood and my grandma. This box was on my grandmother's dresser, and every time that I went to visit them, and I was lucky enough to spend probably about, see them once a month, and I got to spend a week with them in the summer. My grandma kept her handkerchiefs in this box. And even though I knew that every time I opened this box, there were going to be handkerchiefs inside, I couldn't resist opening it every time. Because this box is made out of cedar, so it smells amazing. And what I like about it now is when I open the lid and I see it says Marshfield, Wisconsin, it reminds me of the time that I spent in that city. And I don't have the handkerchiefs anymore in here. I took out the things that I was storing in this box. I have a bunch of little family jewelry and stuff that I normally keep in this box now. But I do have this cute little grandma pillow that was in the box with these handkerchiefs from when this was my grandma's box. So that's kind of the story behind me in this box and how I'd gotten it from my grandma and where it had come from and everything like that. But it can go further than that. Because as I was admiring this box, I realized this is a way for me to tap into my younger self, my inner child. Sometimes it's really hard to do that when you're in survival mode and you're worried about how you're going to pay the bills and you're really sick of doing laundry, dishes, and all those things, and you're trying to sit down and be creative. And so it's real easy sometimes to forget what it's like to be playful and carefree and creative. So what I like about this box is I can remember walking into my grandma's bedroom and every time being curious as I opened the box, like there was going to be something new in this box. There never was. But that curiosity about what's in the box carried through into my adulthood. Oh, Stormy's got to go. She's got to go. And she interrupted my thought process. But this box can easily help me tap into my inner child. All I need to do is pick it up and open it up and look at it. And it's almost like I have this connection with who I was when I was that little girl. The other thing that I have is that connection to my grandma, because it's not just this box that has memories, but the things that happened in that room. For example, the time I was doing my grandma's hair and the hair dryer started on fire or something and started smoking. We have a great picture of that somewhere. And all of the evenings when my grandpa would go to bed and my grandma and grandpa would have me play telephone and try and teach me German words and then laugh as I completely murdered it by the time I made it to the other room. So it was just their anniversary. So since I was talking about this, I thought I'd show you my grandparents. This is Viola and Adolf. I don't know what anniversary this was when they had this picture taken, but these are my grandparents. And maybe this story alone isn't something that you're thinking, like, well, so what? But if I were to work on this story, this is just the beginning. This is just the brainstorming. So I've got the actual event of where this box came from and how I came to possess it, and the memories and different little stories that came from my memory because of this box. So these are all things that I can write down for my ideas of how I would develop this story. But one thing that you could think about once you get these small ideas down is, if someone read this story in the future, what would you hope they would learn from this story? Or what would you hope they would remember in their own lives from this story? What would you hope the outcome from this story is going to be? And when you ask this question, it puts a different spin on just a couple little notes about an object that you just picked up in your house. So if you're trying to figure out how to get started, the piece of paper looks really white and blank and you don't know what to do about it, get up. Let's stop sitting around and writing the story. Let's get up, look around, see what's around you, and just start jotting down some notes. And remember, I said this is the getting started, the brainstorming stage. We're not really like in the mix of the writing of the story yet. What we're doing is we're just putting together some ideas. And what often happens in this stage is we get our little judge voice that comes out and says, this isn't anything to tell a story about. This is no good. So I want you to remember when this voice comes out. Here's part of the game. 10% of every idea that you write down is a good idea, even if it seems really bad. So even if it's starting to look really bad, what is the 10% of the story and the ideas that you've written down that's good and that you think is going to make a difference as you're writing this story? Okay, so that is the physical treasure hunt. Now I'm going to shift to a different kind of treasure hunt. We're gonna, I don't know, if you guys are good at drawing things, I'm not. This would be a good time for you to just doodle around on your piece of paper. Get a piece of paper right now. If you're watching the replay of this, pause it, go get your notebook. We're gonna do an activity together. So we're going to come up with 6 treasure chest ideas. So on your piece of paper, I want you to draw 6 treasure chests. And you know, since I'm not good at drawing, I cheated and I used Canva. So mine looked perfect. Anyway, these titles are the 6 titles that I'm going to go through with you right now. And these are all great brainstorming ideas. Now again, Queen of Overthinking over here wants you to know that that's not it. There's no place for overthinking in the brainstorming stage. Throw whatever pops into your head on the piece of paper. Just put it down there. You know, something that you think of might not even quite fit with what we're talking about, but if it pops into your head when I read the question, just go ahead and put it on there anyway. So if you don't like drawing and you don't have, you know, Canva to quick throw up some treasure chests, it's okay. Just write down the titles on your piece of paper, and then you're going to write down your ideas below it. So the first treasure chest is the scar. Now, of course, everybody loves telling the stories about how did you get that scar. The physical ones, you know, that you can see. But what about the scars that people can't see? So here's some questions to get you brainstorming. What challenge almost broke you? Second question, what was one of the hardest seasons in your life? What was one of the hardest seasons in your life? Next question, what did you learn because of this scar? And final question, who are you today because of this scar? So those are 4 questions to look at the scar and how you could write a story about that. So did anything come to mind? What I want you to do while you're going through this exercise is underneath the scar by that little treasure chest, write down any ideas that pop into your mind as I'm reading these questions. Just write yourself a little short note so that you remember it when you go back next time. And we're brainstorming here. So with the scar, a lot of powerful stories come from wounds that become wisdom. Okay? Treasure chest number 2, we're going to do the crossroads. When did you ever have to make a difficult decision? I got 2 things that popped into my head real quick on that one. Second question for this, when you were at the crossroads, did you take a risk or did you play it safe? And then also, what happened because of that choice? So hopefully you got some ideas while I was reading those questions for the crossroads, jotted down some notes, and then we're going to move on to the next treasure chest. The unexpected gift. Could have been at Christmas time, could have been a birthday, or, I mean, it's unexpected, so maybe no occasion at all. What if that unexpected gift was really disappointing? How did you deal with that? Did it turn into a blessing, or was it kind of like a curse? What about the unexpected gift of a failure? A lot of times people are so afraid of failure that they don't realize that it's a learning lesson, so you could turn that into a blessing. So what failure taught you something important? And another unexpected gift question, when did life not go according to plan, but it still worked out? So hopefully you've jotted down your brief ideas for the 3rd treasure chest. Number 4 is the teacher. You know, there have probably been a lot of people in your life that have taught you many things. So I want you to be thinking along that brainwave. Who changed your life? Write their name down quickly. What advice that you got from someone stuck with you? Who's that person? How about, what conversation do you remember years and years later, and why? All right, hopefully you've written down some good stuff for the teacher. I thought of a bunch of good ones. Number 5. Oh, the victory. Yes. It's not always about telling stories about the trials, but you know, even when we're talking about the victory, sometimes those accomplishments are things that at the beginning, much like writing a book, you never thought you would get it done. So, what did you accomplish once that had seemed impossible? What is an accomplishment you're proud of? And Francine would love this question. What would your younger self think if they saw you now? All right, so that was the victory. Hopefully, you've jotted down some ideas for that. And now the plot twist. I don't know, I think my picture is in the way. There we go. No, I'm not in the way. The plot twist. So, what is something that happened in your life that you never saw coming? Like, totally blindsided. You could also look at it from what changed the direction of your life, or what event completely altered your plans. So, all of these are fantastic. Like, keep people on their edge of their seat, move them, inspire them, kind of brainstorming treasure chests. And once you've gotten all these ideas down, okay, so I don't want you to look at these and necessarily judge and say this is bad. I want you to look at all these ideas that you've written down, and I want you to figure out which of these treasure chests feel the most emotionally charged for you. Like when you see that small little note that you wrote down next to the treasure chest, you kind of get this little, that's like fluttery feeling in your chest. Maybe you're just like, oh, or maybe there's even like a little bit of a sense of fear. Like, I don't know if I could actually, like, I don't know if I'm ready to share that story. Or maybe you just instantly feel a little bit choked up and emotional when you think back to some of these situations and stories that you've been through. Grab the one that speaks to you the loudest and start developing that one first. Usually, once you get excited about one of the ideas that you've written down, it's not very hard to like just take off from there. Now, if you do find that you've gotten these great ideas down and you're still kind of struggling for how you want to put your story together, or you're struggling to find the time in your schedule to write consistently, these are things that we're going to help you overcome in what we call our portal parties. And so you've seen our website scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and you can go there. About halfway down the page, there's information about how you can contact us to do basically a brainstorming session. Could kind of look like what we did today. If someone said, you know what, it's just a blank page and I don't know where to start, Francine and I have these little tips and tricks, and we can all do it together. And the cool part about when we do it together is other people in the group, they didn't know they were in for this when they came for the brainstorming session. And more often than not, it helps everybody in the group, even if it wasn't specific for you. So definitely go check out our website, book a portal party with us. There's also a spot on there where you can subscribe to our calendar, because these things pop up really quickly sometimes. We don't always have time to advertise them. So if you're interested in joining a portal party, definitely subscribe to our calendar so you can check that out. And finally, I want to mention at the very top of the page on the website, we have an anthology project. And all of the things, all of the ideas that I gave you here would be perfect in our treasure chest of stories that are going to go into this book. Because a book is not just one story. It's a combination of little bitty stories and moments that make up the whole treasure. And sometimes when you're getting started, putting all of those little stories together to create the full story can be overwhelming at first. So what we're doing is you can just take one of these little pieces, one of these little treasure chests from your stories, and add it to ours to help inspire other people who are wondering how they're going to get through something that just seems impossible. That everybody said, there's no way you can do that. But you did it anyway. And those are the kind of stories that we're hoping to tell together. So, if you didn't do this with me, I see I've got some people watching. Hello, thank you for being with me today and watching. If you didn't do the exercises as we went along, of course you can go back and watch this recording. And I want to know in the comments which treasure chest surprised you the most, and what story did you discover is hiding there? And when you join me next week, I want you to bring your brainstorming notes with you, because we're going to keep going on this brainstorming quest so that you listen. When I started writing music, I had this fear that I was going to run out of content to write about. And I just laugh now because, man, there are so many things you can write about. And actually, that might be a little bit of the problem. So these brainstorming exercises are going to help you narrow it down so that you know what stories are important for you to tell. Why do you think they're going to make a difference? Who are they going to make a difference for? And these are the kind of things that we're looking at every week as we talk to you on this live stream, the Believe Retreat. It's a time to slow down from the crazy hustle and realize that in creativity, you want to slow down and be in the moment. And it's really a lot of fun to collaborate with other people. You don't have to be doing all this stuff on your own. So join me again next week. I'm going to be continuing to talk about these little brainstorming games that you can play so that you can get some words on the paper, get that chapter written, join the Believe Anthology project, and become a published author. Oh yeah, I think it's going to be really, really awesome. So again, thank you guys for joining me. If you can conceive it, you can believe it, and you can achieve it. So from the head to the hands, I did that wrong. From the head to the heart to the hands, yes, you can. See you guys.